Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Haig Coulter, and this is Hangin with Haig. And today with me is a friend of mine, Mark Bartlett. Mark, I think we've known each other probably in the neighborhood of 10 years, and we've probably had a couple, 3 jobs each since the first time we met to today. Tell me a little bit about your day job. What do you do? Where do you work? What kind of things
Sure.
do you do?
So I'm at Caliburn International, and what I'm doing there is production operations. So kind of joined this team to help them move their commercial services over into a GovCloud environment. So there's a lot of FedRAMP stuff going on, compliance things, a lot of system integrations. That's really what it's all about nowadays. And where do you collect the logs? How do you monitor and alert? So that's kind of my day to day right now. It's keeping me busy, that's for sure. Thanks for having me on here, by the way.
Oh, it's absolutely our pleasure. But we're not here to talk about Caliburn and your day job. We're here to talk a little bit about what you do sort of off hours as a side gig. And you have a business called Computer Equipment for Kids. How about just a little description of what it is?
Sure.
And what you do?
So Computer Equipment for Kids, I kind of started this on the side during my, away from my day job. I needed a kind of a stress reliever. It's nice to go in and work on machines and stuff. But the premise is I take donated machines, just laptops, tablets, things that folks can give to me that are going to help students out. And then I turn around, clean them up, fix them up, refurbish them, and then I hand them out to students for free. So I try and find the little pockets of, that's the thing about Fairfax County, right? It's like super rich, but it's also super poor. So there's a lot of places around here that there's folks that really need this kind of stuff where they're getting things that are going to help them along the way. And that's kind of one of my things is like the tagline of technology is going to help everyone, because you can go on YouTube nowadays and learn about anything, right?
So how did you even get the idea? Like, was it some eureka moment, or were you looking at a bunch of computer equipment and said, gosh, it seems like such a waste that they're just sitting here?
So, my oldest son, he's 14 now, but when he was, starting to go to school, I could notice that there was a couple kids in class that just didn't have the supplies they needed when it came to computers. And this was pre-COVID, right? Like nowadays, kids are getting laptops through the school, which is great. But you still have those folks back then that just didn't have the laptops. They didn't have the support. And then when you really started talking to them, they'd say, I go home to do my homework. I don't have a computer. I can't get on the internet, and that puts them at such a disadvantage. I started seeing those things, and I said, hey, I do computer work. Started asking around for supplies, and the universe will provide, right? So I started saying, hey, I'd like to put together 5 laptops. 5 laptops turned to 10 to 20, and now we're almost about to hit 500 here by the end of the year. So it's been a wild ride.
Wow. So necessity is the mother of invention, and you just came up with this idea, and it's really started to snowball into something big.
That's right.
LinkedIn tells me from a few days ago, though, that there's another fairly significant milestone for Computer Equipment for Kids. I don't want to steal your thunder. I'd love it if you just shared what the big news is.
Right. So, for the last, I'd say 8 years, I've been doing this just kind of on the side as just a thing to do. And I started saying to myself, I should wrap this into a nonprofit. So now we got our 501c established. Now we have the code. It's going to give me a lot more opportunities and avenues where I can go to businesses and say, hey, if you guys want to donate, old laptops, there's so many businesses out there that when they either are refurbishing their old laptops or they're, moving, say they're closing an office, there's a lot of old gear that just sits there and will either be moved to a warehouse or actually just be, broken down, right? So now with that nonprofit status, I can do that. They can get some level of tax credit, so I can get things coming in. Also gives me another avenue where I'm not just taking donations from the machine side of the house. I can start getting into funding, right? So if I get funding, it allows me to start looking at other things like, do I want to get an actual place where I can set up an office? Which is kind of the long-term goal for Computer Equipment for Kids. Right now, as you see here, we're in my beautiful lab, right? So this is pretty much where I do all my work. The computers come in. My wife loves it because, our guest bedroom downstairs is stacked up with computer equipment and monitors. So hopefully no one needs to come stay here anytime soon, because the bed's clear, so they'll be all right there. But there's tons of monitors
so you
everywhere.
have your facility is your house.
Right.
Storage is in the bedroom, and where are you right now?
So this is the workroom / laundry room. So I call it the lab because I have 2 tables set up, and then I just come in and start working on the gear. We were talking before about, do I have any helpers come in and help? Well, pre-COVID, I had a couple college kids coming out helping me, and I'm trying to gear that back up now that the restrictions are starting to be lifted, which is nice. And then I have 3 kids, so they get wrangled into all this stuff. So they're kind of voluntold. I say, hey, you're going to come help me with this, and then I'm going to help you with that later. So, it's good for them. There's a couple videos up on the site where, my middle child, Josie, she's doing some installations and replacing hard drives. So it's been a wild ride for them too.
I have seen at least one of those videos, and I think it's worth a pause to say that when you say your kids are helping, it's not like they're just stacking stuff up from one place to another. Your daughter Josie is actually cracking open laptops,
yep,
pulling out drives, putting in new drives, screwing everything back in together, which is not insignificant. I mean, that's
right.
That's pretty amazing. Do you know roughly how old she was when she did her first sort of disassembly and assembly like that?
Probably 8.
Yeah, that is incredible.
Yeah, because she's 11 now. So it's it's cool, and I think that's really important for kids too, because they see the equipment, and without opening up and understanding what's inside, you're kind of leaving, you're just guessing what's happening. And we start breaking this stuff down. It's pretty cool to see how it's all put together and what each part does, and how easy it is to fix an old piece of equipment up to make it brand new again, right? Like a lot of the equipment we use, you go in and replace the hard drive from an old style drive to a SSD. You're going to speed up the machine immediately. And I think in our society too, it's like the new iPhone, new tablet every year for folks. There's a lot of stuff that we kind of just throw to the side or put in a closet, and it's like, well, now you have a good cause to give that to. So if you guys want to donate anything, just send it my way. I can use all this stuff. I always find folks that need it. If it's not folks in the US that need it, I have other avenues in other countries that, there's this one program that I help. It's called Develop Africa, another nonprofit that the guys share stories, and they're like they're in like 10 houses, for school with like dirt on the floor. And it's like stuff that we take so much stuff for granted here. And then you hear these stories and you're like, man, these kids barely have anything. Right. And a computer could change anybody's life.
Right. So you're based in the DC metro area in Northern Virginia, but computer equipment for kids has helped children clearly outside the area. What can you give us maybe an example of some of the beneficiaries further from home?
Sure. So I have an old church friend that lives in Uganda. He comes home and he visits his family, right? So I've given him a couple laptops that he's taken back with him to help his village, which has been pretty cool. But that other program I was just talking about with Develop Africa, they're out of Sierra Leone. So the owner came to me and was like, hey, I'd really like to get a computer lab going. Is there anything you can do? And just like I was saying with the universe lining things up, an old coworker of mine, was working in an embassy downtown and was like, hey, we have like 30 all-in-ones here, and they're just going to go, they're not going to go anywhere. They're just going to be destroyed. Do you want them? So I basically made the trip downtown, picked them all up, came back, refurbished them all, which was really just putting a new hard drive in each of them. Cause usually when those kind of machines get, expelled, they just take out the hard drive and the memory. So grabbed those, refurbished them, packaged them all up, and then they had coordinated the shipment. So they picked them up from here. They got on a cargo ship and they went over. And I was just told 2 days ago that they were setting up the lab over there. So it's pretty incredible.
That's remarkable. I have a question actually about the refurb part. So if you're pulling out a hard drive, let's say old spinning media, and you put in a new SSD, and I know how that can really breathe new life into older hardware. I think the SSDs have just a remarkable performance enhancement, regardless of maybe how old a laptop or a all-in-one is. But what about once you've sort of refreshed the hardware? What about like the operating system? Like, do you have 1,000 Microsoft licenses, or how do you, or do you use something like a Ubuntu? Like, what happens to a machine when it comes to you in the refurb part?
Okay. So I'll start that. Say somebody donates a laptop and it still has a hard drive in it. First thing I do is I run something called DBAN against it, which basically nukes the hard drive. It writes over the layers of the hard drive multiple times. So if I were to, send that hard drive out, no one's going to be able to get your data off it, because it is. I'll start there because that's surprising to me that so many folks, even when you donate something, you need to erase your drive. So if you have an iPhone, you need to reset it, make sure the drive gets deleted, all the flash stuff gets wiped. If you have a tablet, do the same. A lot of these, that is one thing with manufacturers. I think they're getting better at doing the reset, right? Like giving you the option to reset, refresh, and it wipes everything off your drive for you. But very important to do that before you donate anything or get rid of anything. A lot of folks out there just trying to grab that kind of information. But so I'll get a laptop, and usually I'll just kind of analyze like how fast it is, what's it missing. Some of these things I get, I'll open up the machine, turn it on, it will power on, but there'll be nothing on the monitor. So then it's troubleshooting, right? Is it a monitor issue? I'll go on Amazon, buy a new monitor for like $15, right, and install it. But with the hard drive stuff, it's pick it up, throw it in, and then the OS that I'll lay down on it is usually something called Cloud Ready. It's through a company that just got acquired by Google. It's called Neverware, and they basically do a Chrome OS. So it's a Chrome OS version that you can install on any of your old hardware. Kind of makes them a thin client, right? So it's just a dummy machine where you're going to boot it up. You'll have a browser to get to all your Gmail and your Google stuff, and you can surf the web. And that's usually enough for the students I'm providing for, because especially with everybody being learning from home last year, I think it a horrible situation, but there was good things that came out of it, right? Everyone started working from home, learning from home. We started using other platforms that I think teachers and educators weren't 100% comfortable with, but they definitely were rock stars, right? And with the browser, you can pretty much do anything nowadays. It's not like the old days when we were growing up where a Windows program just ran on Windows, right? And then you couldn't take it over to a Linux box. So, but to answer your question, it's the Cloud Ready stuff. It's like a Chrome OS. And then usually when I'm working with a specific program, say somebody comes to me and they say, hey, I'm building out a computer lab. Well, I might not put Neverware on there or Cloud Ready. I would do maybe an Ubuntu 10, or I'm sorry, Ubuntu, whatever we're at now, 15. I don't know. So put that on there, and then you can do all sorts of different applications. And then, somebody can get in with an editor or an IDE or whatever, and then start doing some coding and just having some fun on the box. I usually steer clear of Windows. Nothing against Windows, but Windows has licensing, and then it goes down that whole other road. And I'd rather just give somebody a box, and that's part of my disclaimer that I give them. I'm like, this is your machine now. You can do whatever you want with it. If you want to wipe it and start all over, that's fine. Have fun. Go do your thing.
Yeah. So as you said, these machines essentially become thin clients. So you've got a keyboard, you have a display, limited memory or local storage. It's basically connecting to resources over the internet. So as long as you have the keyboard, the display, enough RAM to do all of that, and a connection to the internet, you basically are providing somebody the ability to access information on the internet, or do their remote schooling, or do their homework after school, with a whole slew of either open source or free for non-commercial use tools. So that paper can get written, that presentation can be made, that homework can be submitted, whatever it is.
Exactly.
Exactly. Look, over the last, let's say, 18 months, because of COVID, you mentioned you had a couple college students. Did you maintain those college student volunteers over COVID, or was it indentured servitude from your 3 kids?
I will say the help from the kids, my kids, has definitely picked up, because it's just, I don't know, that's, as we move forward, you see some people still have certain feelings about wearing masks and doing other things, and some folks haven't been vaccinated yet. So I'm trying to pick that back up, though. So if anybody would like to volunteer, it could be as easy as I show you how to install the box, and then I could give you a few machines to help me at your house or wherever you feel more comfortable to help. We could do it that way too, because I'm always looking for help. There's always things that need to be done. I have stacks of laptops around that, even if somebody were to go through an inventory for me, it would be very helpful for the program.
So maybe a quick call to action then, if there's somebody in the Northern Virginia area maybe a high school student who needs volunteer hours or a college student who wants to get some volunteering in. You're now officially a nonprofit.
Yep.
You could be signing off on X number of hours of volunteer time to help you out. So aside from people, what kind of donations are attractive to you? What do you need, or what's ideal as a donation, and perhaps what's maybe not so ideal?
Yeah. So laptops, tablets, anything that's pretty much within the last 10 years, I would say. So if it has onboard Wi-Fi, meaning you can just boot it up and get on an internet connection, it's usually enough for what I need. And video is good too. I started off in the space where I was like, I wasn't really worried about getting cameras. I do have a bunch of awesome folks that have been donating. Fleetus, if you're out there, thanks. I appreciate it. The guy hits me up off Amazon every other week with stuff. I come home, there's something on my doorstep. It's pretty cool. But if it has video on board, it's very helpful, right, for students, because then I don't have to send them multiple things. But video, last 10 years, Wi-Fi especially, and anything else I can really either fix or upgrade, usually at that point.
And then you mentioned phones as well. So even an old, let's
old
say
Android, old iPhone, because I'll wipe those, and then it's really like a little machine, a little computer that anybody can do whatever they want with. So
okay, so devices of all shapes and sizes. What about people who may have had an old laptop, and then the power supply that stayed at work, the power supply that stayed in their bag, and then the power supply that stayed at home? Are you interested in like extra power supplies, or are you like mountains of power supply?
It's funny you said. I got like 4 boxes here, all different shapes and sizes. I don't want to say no, because I always find that I can always use them sooner or later, right? Like I put them away, and it's kind of like old supplies in your workroom, right? You throw out those screws, and then the next thing you know, you're doing a wood project, and you need that specific screw, and you don't have it anymore. So my wife's not super happy about that, but I'll definitely take any donation, and then I just put it away. So I think that's like what we were talking about earlier. It's like that's the next step with the funding, is to get either a storage place where I can have the near term and the long term stuff live, and then start rolling out into more of an office instead of my lab here.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm sure your wife will be happy when the lab is not also the laundry room.
Yes.
So some equipment. Some parts, like some solid state drives, are always nice. Some peripherals, then maybe mice, external keyboards, that kind of thing.
That's right. That's
okay.
Right. And we do have an Amazon wish list that I have. So usually when I'm working on machines, I'll say, oh, this thing needs a new monitor, right? And I'll go on and I'll throw it in. And folks can just buy it right off the wish list, and it comes right to my house. So it's no fuss there.
And if somebody wants to go to Amazon and find your wish list,
it's a public wish list. You just put in computer equipment for kids, and then it'll bring it right up.
Okay, great. So if I'm feeling motivated and I don't have equipment, I can donate directly to computer equipment for kids now that you're a nonprofit, or I can look for you on Amazon, your wish list, and then help you out that way as well.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the next step for me on the nonprofit side, is now that we have that set up, I need to get a bank account and then get the fundraising stuff going. So short term, probably over the next month, I'll have that set up, and I'll probably be doing some level of fundraiser through Facebook. It's usually an easy way to do it.
Okay, and again, computer equipment for kids on Facebook.
Right, there's a Facebook group and a Facebook page. So
okay,
and as you see there's Twitter too. So
okay, great. Here at Threat Quotient, we did a little call to action locally, just here, and said if anyone has any equipment. I brought in I know it's Windows, but you'll be able to repurpose it. I've got the power supply. I actually did wipe it. To your point, right. There are easy utilities now. So when you turn this guy on, it's going to walk you through that wizard. But It's got a built-in camera and Wi-Fi, and should be good to go. And
perfect.
I'm in my office, well hidden with this backdrop, but at my feet are a couple grocery bags with some other computer equipment and peripherals.
Oh, wow, that's great.
We're super happy to support your endeavors. And again, people, if you would like to help, there are multiple vehicles for helping Mark out at Computer Equipment for Kids. The Amazon wish list, sorry, I had to let go out, directly at Computer Equipment for Kids, and certainly real computer equipment. Mark, one thing I love to do is talk about like fun facts. Tell me something fun or interesting through the process of doing computer equipment for kids. Something that maybe most people wouldn't have realized or thought about.
I think it's one thing that's a fun fact is we're at about 480 devices, meaning that we've had 480 devices donated to us and are in the process of either being turned around or have been shipped out. And we'll be hitting about 500 later this year, which is incredible to me. I started this 9-10 years ago. And if you told me back then, I'd be hitting 500 by the end of the year, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But like I was saying before, it's like, you put good thoughts out there and, good things come. A lot of good people out there.
Yeah. And you're having a profoundly positive impact to roughly 500, actually probably more, because like some of these labs get used by multiple people. So
that's right.
Lots of karma points for you.
Thanks.
All right. So please, those of you online, if you have equipment to donate, Mark and Computer Equipment for Kids would love them. And Mark, it has been a pleasure. It's been a long time since we've actually seen each other face to face, but we'll be catching up shortly after this so I can make this physical donation of equipment for you.
That's right. Soon enough. And thank you for having me on.
It's our pleasure. Thank you very much. And everyone online, thanks for hanging with me. And until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you.